I'm Matt with eTrailer. Today we're going to be talking about the Titan chain tire chains with the V bars on our 2024 Jeep Wagoneer L. Now this is going to be a more extreme tire chain since we do have these very durable V bars that are going to just bite through ice and snow. Really, I'd recommend this for someone who's doing a little bit of off-roading or you're on mostly gravel roads since they are going to be pretty rugged. Now you'll also notice we do have this on our rear axle is what the manual recommends. And the tire size we have too is going to be 275, 55, R20. Now that's just the tire size we have today. This will fit with a variety of other sizes. Now if you're not sure if this is going to fit your vehicle, you can actually plug in your vehicle information into a fit guide to find the right one for you. So they're going to have this twist design to them, which is going to be something that's kind of in all, just gives you a little more traction when you're driving around. But what's going to give you that extra bite and what makes these stand out are going to be the V-bars on top of them. As you can see, they have these hard edges to the very ends, so you can tell that ice is going to be no issue for these. Now, we'll say there are some pros and cons to them. Like I said, if you're mainly using this for some light off-roading or if you live on some gravel roads, I think this is going to be really nice. Now, if you're someone who's mostly driving on pavement or the snowy areas that you're driving on are kind of spotty where pavement kind of shows through a lot, I wouldn't really recommend these at the top of my list because sometimes they can be a little bit unforgiving to pavement and kind of tear it up or even tear up the chain some too. If you're in a similar situation to that, I would actually recommend using more of a heavy-duty square link design. But these are going to be some strong links, and that's going to be made out of a manganese nickel alloy steel. And what that means is they're just going to be durable links that will last you a long time, and they're going to be weather resistant. Since they're going to be driving through a lot of snowy conditions, they're going to be less likely of rusting over time. Something else we're going to get from these chains are going to be this ladder pattern design to them. And with a ladder pattern design, that's going to give you more traction when you're initially starting up and stopping. We've actually had the chance to test out a lot of different tire chains, and I do find ladder patterns to be really good for those situations. And that's what's going to help you with these too. What we're relying on is this lever here at the bottom. That's pulling any type of slack out of these chains and connecting to another link. It's a fairly simple design. You don't have to deal with anything like cams. I know some people don't like cams because some people have had experiences with them kind of knocking loose and then that loosening your chains and not being super safe to drive with. So if you don't like cams, I think these are great. But what I do recommend using with them is going to be a rubber tensioner. Because what's great about a rubber tensioner is typically when you're driving around in chains, what's going to happen is they're going to loosen up because things are going to shift. And once things shift, they loosen. And if they loosen, they could potentially damage something on your vehicle. With a rubber tensioner, it's going to constantly keep tension on those chains to prevent that slack from happening. Now these chains are going to come two to a set, and they're going to come in this fairly light duty bag. And I can already tell you, these are some pretty rugged chains, like I said earlier, and those V-bars, after a couple uses, if you're using these a lot, are going to just shred right through this bag in no time. So what I'd recommend doing actually is investing in a small tote box to keep your chains in. It'll just help make them a little bit easier to maneuver too, and the tote's going to last a lot longer. Now, in my opinion, I think these are a pretty great option if you are going through some more heavy-duty conditions and you're frequently using chains, especially if you do live in some more gravel conditions. Again, I'd recommend more of a square link design if you're just driving through some heavy conditions. Sometimes it can become kind of spotty. Those are going to be more than enough too. Now, if your conditions aren't that severe, it's more moderate, maybe it's just some light ice or moderate ice and maybe upwards to 3 to 4 inches of snow, I'd probably recommend something more like these Titan chain tire chains. The reason why I recommend these ones is because they're going to be a lot easier to install, which is a big deal, especially when you're on the side of the road. You probably don't want to get underneath your vehicle when it's all snowy outside. These, you don't have to get underneath your vehicle. You just have to toss them behind, and you can do everything from the front of the vehicle. With the chains we have right now, you are going to have to get underneath. And this one over here also has an assisted tensioner on it, so it'll help keep your chains nice and tight. so you don't have to really invest in that rubber tensioner separately. But if you are kind of curious to see what this installation looks like, just stay tuned. We'll walk you through the process. To start off the installation, I'm going to lay out my chains and grab some gloves just to make this a little bit easier. Now, I also recommend trying this at home first, so you're not trying to figure this out on the side of the road in the middle of a snowstorm. So what we're going to be looking for is to make sure there's no damages to the links and nothing's twisted up. So right here, this is looking pretty good. If you do have something that is kind of twisted up, just kind of run the chains back through and try to take that out. We're just mainly looking for welds too to make sure those are fully together and it doesn't look damaged. We also want to make sure this is in the right orientation, so that flat side is going to be against the ground. And this lever we have right here, that's going to be on the outside, not the inside, so we can more easily grab it. Once we've checked that, we can start putting it on. I'm just going to grab it from the center of our chains, lift it up, and drape it over. And when you're draping over, you want to make sure it's all the way even on either side. So the way you can do this is, if you notice right here, the rim is, or this is going to make contact with the rim. So I'm just going to put my hand on the back side, bring it over until it feels even. And just doing that all the way across. Making sure we have a good fit. Eventually you'll get to the point where you're on the bottom, and you want to make sure you kind of orient the ends in a way where they're going to be easy to grab so we can make our connections. This is going to be a little bit of a tight fit underneath here, and what we're going to be doing is grabbing this hook here and connecting it to the other side where we have these links. So I might have to reorient myself so I can actually do that. This might take you a few attempts. Like I said, it is a tight fit underneath here. But you also want to make sure you don't get it too loose or too tight. The reason being, if you do have it too much compared to the other side, it's not going to give you an even fit. And if it doesn't, then your chains could loosen up and damage something. The front side is going to be pretty much the same process. It's going to be a little bit different though. So instead of just having a regular style hook over here, we're going to have this lever. That lever is going to go through these links. You're just going to try to make this as tight as possible. Again, we're trying to make sure it's even on both ends. I'm going to try it on this one, see if this will work for us. And that's feeling pretty good. Then you're going to notice we have the C opening here. That's just going to line up with that link right there. That gives us a good hold. Afterwards, you just come back through, kind of pulling your chain some, make sure this feels nice and tight, and that's feeling really good. Definitely like that a lot. But to give me a little more peace of mind, I am going to be using a rubber tensioner. I mentioned this earlier in our video today, but the way you can put it on is going to be kind of like how you would tighten down a tire in a star pattern, and you want to make sure that these hooks are facing away from the tires just so they don't puncture anything. And when you have everything on there, we can give it another tug test, make sure it feels good. They want to make this a little bit more even too. Just put this one, this location, that's looking way better. Again, kind of pull on it, make sure it's feeling good. If it is, then you're going to repeat the same process on the other side. After which, I recommend either backing up or pulling forward some just to make sure nothing's shifting too much and it's still feeling good. And if it is, then you can take it out for a ride. But that's just a look at some of the features and the installation of the Titan chain tire chains with the V-bar links on our 2024 Jeep Wagoneer L. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.